Loan Depot. Their chairman.
They called me.
Their chairman of the board, Anthony Heisch, probably saying that wrong, but has stepped down.
Why?
Discrepancy with other board members over appointment of a new board of director member.
So what was the discrepancy?
Basically, he wanted someone and no one else agreed to it, but he has a 40% ownership and he has proxy votes for another 17%.
So he's majority.
So he has 57%. He said he sent out a letter to all shareholders saying, and here I will read off the quote.
So essentially, the guy who is the majority owner of the company,
yes.
He has 40 votes. He's on the board, plus another 17%, 40% of the vote, plus 17% of the proxy vote. He has final say.
Yes. He said, I ought to engage with the board members with other areas before reaching out to you, but there has been no appetite for meaningful discussions. And he appointed this guy as the majority owner. So he basically said, you know what? I have the ability to do this because I started this company. I still have 57% of the votes. I'm going to make this decision because we have spent a couple months and gotten nowhere. I don't see the issue with it.
So what happened?
He ended up stepping down because the rest of the board members raised hell about him the way he did it. So he ended up stepping down as he's still on the board, but he stepped down as executive chairman. But he still has 57% of the voting rights. So I don't.
So couldn't he just vote the rest of the board off and replace him?
He probably could.
You want my opinion on this? Because I think it's more complicated than just mortgage.
Yes, and I know you have some thoughts, and this is your opportunity to speak to that if you want to.
We've had an exciting day here.
We have.
I will say this. I'm the majority owner of this business. You own a portion of it. We don't have nearly as many employees as Loan Depot.
Right.
I've been critical of Better.com and their CEO, but I also understand there's a huge respect factor. So what I say on this show, if it's critical, understand it comes from a place of respect. Better.com, not so much because of how they treated their employees, and I would not do that to our employees.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask different people, you have disgruntled employees. Maybe they took something you said the wrong way, whatever, right? So, anyways, long story short, I will say it's lonely at the top. What do I mean about that? I've been reading a lot about this, and I've been reading a lot of CEOs' opinions. CEOs of big companies, small businesses. Businesses have a chief executive officer, all of them. Whether they have that title or not, if there's a business, there's somebody who's making the decisions, and they have to make the decisions that are best for the business, for the longevity of the business. There's a massive responsibility, right? So I have a responsibility to every single one of my employees to make sure every decision that I'm making is the best decision, because I would hate one of my decisions, especially as we're a younger company, to put us out of business. Now, we're not at a risk for that, but it's something that I think about all the time, and I think that's why I'm on my toes, right? I'm constantly on my toes. I'm saying be proactive, not reactive. How do we do this? How do we do that? That type of thing. Because I think about the Donovans of the world who's running this podcast. I think about our former loan officer assistant. I think about our former employees who actually worked with us. And I'm making every decision based on the longevity of the business, right? And at the same time, you're asking people to do their jobs.
Yes.
All you have to do is show up and do your job, right? And that means, and what do I mean by that? Does that mean show up and do the bare minimum? No, in a business this size, it does not. Bigger companies, you may be able to get away with it, right? But I want you to show up and do your job. But it's lonely at the top when you're the founder of a business and you're growing your business and you're making the tough decisions, especially earlier on. But I'm sure in his situation, Loan Depot's massive.
Yeah.
It's probably even tougher, right?
Oh,
and
sure.
He's made a decision to pull his wholesale channel this year.
Yep.
Now he's making a decision where he wants a new person who on the board, and the board doesn't agree with him. Let me ask you a question. Who's sitting on the board with him? Did they make the tough decisions to get him to that point? I doubt it.
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty wild. The fact that he has 57% and they got to the point he had to step down. Like, what in the world?
But did he really step down? Now, you also want people who are willing to disagree with you,
yes.
right? You want people who are willing to bring you information. That you want people who are willing to give you feedback, because you need some friction in any business in order to get better, right? So we had a cool event that happened here today. Not really cool, that's sarcasm. But we had an employee quit because they didn't like tough feedback, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we needed that friction, and that person leaving our company is going to move us forward exponentially. And
Yes.
we've already had conversations with other people within our business. Okay, how do we replace this person? Do we replace this person? Like, what do we do? Right? We've already had other conversations.
Yes, we have.
So we are now going to move forward and be more efficient. And now we're knowing what we're looking for in the role, right?
Right.
Hopefully we can bring a person in where the conversations aren't as tough and we don't have to ask for the same things over and over and over and over to get done and do multiple trainings and so on and so forth, right? Because the last thing you want as a person who's running a business and trying to expand the business, and you and I have had conversations between ourselves about this, and if you're okay, let's talk about it, right? Like personal.
Yeah.
Like between us, like our personal production in the company. Are you okay with talking about some of this so that people don't think I'm singling out one person? So as an owner of the business, you have job responsibility. I have job responsibility. It's my job to go above and beyond.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean work more hours than you're supposed to, but that means like, hey, sometimes I need to dig in and figure things out. I don't want to micromanage. I've told you this a million times. Donovan, I've told Donovan this a million times. I don't want to micromanage. I've told everybody that in the company. If I feel like I'm having to micromanage and things aren't getting done unless I'm involved, that's a problem. That you can't grow a business that way. You just can't. So like when it comes to the social media and the going live, I said, I'm going to hire this person who hopefully knows more about this than me because I know nothing about it. Like, and look at the setup. Like, just take a quick gander. Like,
look at the first couple podcasts. Go back, rewatch the first couple podcasts, and then look at where we are now.
Credit to Donovan, and hopefully our following starts getting up because, you know, I'm very proud of what he's done, and there has been some friction between him and I because I see things a certain way. He sees them, but guess what? When he pushes back, and the friction isn't a bad thing. When he pushes back, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to reevaluate what we're doing. And
right.
I think one of the big pieces was content. We need more content. So we were creating more content, and we were just having a conversation prior because we want to be video-based. And now we want to add, because we've created more content, we're able to say, okay, now we want to get more informational. We talk a lot about the current going-ons of the mortgage industry, but guess who I want to talk to? I want to talk to the first-time home buyer.
Absolutely.
Hey, first-time home buyer, this is your year. This is your year. So we're creating content for over the next 3 to 4 months that we're going to be talking to the first-time home buyer, telling them all the misconceptions in the industry, telling them that, hey, you don't actually need to have 2 years of job experience. There's other situations. You can have 1 year of job experience and we can get you into a home and buy a home. And the younger you do it, the national average for first-time home buyers age is ticking up. I want to bring that, and I want to be the moving factor and force to move that age down because buying real estate in America is the number one way to build wealth for the working class.
And this is something we'll talk about more, but later in the podcast. But it's the way that the mortgage industry going is making it more and more a push to get more first-time home buyers.
I think that needs to happen.
I mean, it is happening. Everyone's trying it. I mean, even the FHFA, everyone's trying to get more first-time home buyers. Our job as mortgage loan originators is to educate and to teach them and explain to them what is going on. We're not just a transactional based person of, oh, here's your loan, give me these documents, see you have a nice life. Our job is to explain to our clients and to our realtor partners and explain to them the basis of what we do, what exactly we need, explain to them the why behind everything, as well as work with them on a plan for their personal situation that sets them up for their future goals, not just this one transaction. That's how we base this business off of, and that is what we're going to do. And this video segment that's coming up is going to be a big part of that.
Well, and I agree with you on that. And let's switch back to the CEO. It's lonely on top, right? So when I say, hey, we need our employees to go above and beyond, we don't need to be micromanaging. I have to have the time to be able to trust you in your role, to do your role without me constantly having to follow up.
Yes.
If I'm following up with you, that's a problem. And I've said a million times, we are going to have the Navy SEALs of mortgage companies. I want people who are hungry. Donovan, you know what I want? I want wolves. I want people who are willing to go out and hunt. I want cheetahs. I want fighters. I want people who aren't going to just, oh, Nick got mad at me. He raised his voice. Do I yell? I don't yell at people, but I'm a very passionate person. I'm an Italian. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a very passionate person. So if you're not doing your job and I'm constantly having conversations with you about, hey, we need to step this up after training after training after training, like this might not be for you. And then if we have one tough conversation and you quit this definitely isn't for you. So thank you for doing us a favor.
Yeah.
Because what do I want? I want wolves. I want cheetahs. I want monsters. You and I talked about this, Ben.
We did.
I want monsters. What's that mean? Do I want bad people? No. But guess what? Sometimes you have to have some very, very, very people who are willing to go to bad places for the good of humanity.
So we've talked about this a lot lately, and that's the whole Jordan Peterson reference.
Love Jordan.
Yep. So there's rabbits versus monsters, right? It's can you actually be a good rabbit, because they're harmless. They have no ability to do anything bad. They don't even make the choice.
Good rabbit.
Right, exactly. Now, if you're a monster, guess what? That doesn't mean you're necessarily a bad person. That just means that you have the ability to do that. But you are making the conscious choice to make good decisions, and it comes down to the ability to support and make those decisions versus just being there.